How are we going to affect change without acknowledging all parts that go into why a cop pulls a trigger? See where the issue is. This is how it's going to be.
I'm just going to go ahead and create something over here. Coming up on Another Act, I talk with Nicole Ari Parker about her new role playing the deputy superintendent on NBC's Chicago P.D. in the age of Black Lives Matter, and why she first began speaking out against social injustices as a kid growing up in Baltimore. You know, in this new season of NBC Chicago PD, you're playing a deputy superintendent who tackles police reform for Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter movement. And I feel like just the image of seeing a Black female officer is so powerful. Tell me a little bit about what made you want to say yes to this role.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. We're right now in the middle of change and turmoil and pain coming to the surface. And I just thought, finally, one of these cop shows are really going to get into it. And the writers on the show have always been spectacular. And let's bring in the people that can make the decisions about change. Let's make her Black and female, which deputy superintendents do exist, and see how she comes up against this mega white male force. They're really trying to get right into it as much as they can and see where the issue is. How are we going to affect change without acknowledging all parts that go into why a cop pulls a trigger? You know, these cops in some states, they can be a cop at 19. They haven't even swiped their noses.
Yeah.
So they need support. And this show is really trying to see how to do that.
Yeah.
Without pulling the rug from under the entire police force.
Right.
You know, because my character isn't an outsider coming in. I'm not an ethics police. I'm not somebody who hasn't been a beat cop. I mean, if you're a deputy superintendent, you started 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And you had to prove yourself on the street. You had to prove yourself to your superiors. So this is somebody from the inside who really knows where the reform has to be.
Yeah. You know, you wrote something on Instagram not too long ago, and I want to read it because this felt so impactful to me. And you said you saw firsthand how a brave female officer de-escalated a situation in the face of danger without taking the life of a child, teenager, or unarmed person. Tell me a little bit about that, because I feel like you might have used that experience in building this character for this show.
Well, I did, in the sense of some of the things that she might have come across, and how your training and your instincts and the situation have to all be part of the decision in that moment. And the instance that I was talking about, I've seen it many times, but it was basically a teenager. By the time I got there, he just had a gun and he was armed. And she was surrounded. There was the female cop and then all of the other cops there. But she took the lead, talked to this boy so he would not get shot. And I saw her take him in as somebody's baby. And that's a risk. I feel for cops in that situation because he's still old enough to pull the trigger, but she knew that there was an option if she could just have a minute, 30 seconds. And he got down. She saved his life. And I don't want to say that every scenario is like that, you know, because you could have 5 young boys with guns, white or Black, and cops have to figure out what to do. There has to be some kind of humanity taught or reinforced. And, you know, the writers try to get into it. They really try, even between Rusek and Atwater, there's a lot of storylines coming up about what are you seeing right now? We're both on the same team, but we might be seeing 2 different things. And that's where I think my character respects all possibilities.
You know, when I think about this current arc that you have on the show, I also think about your Baltimore roots, and I think about really a lot of the conversations that we're having right now kind of started, I think, with Freddie Gray in Baltimore grabbing those national headlines. And I didn't know if that was something that you had front of mind or in the back of your mind when you were on set and bringing this story to life in another city, Chicago, that certainly has had its equal share of problems when it comes to policing a community. Tell me a little bit about that.
I think it was beginning and to see the ruptures in moments, not the big sweeping problems, but what kinds of decisions are made in the moment. It was the beginning to see all the cracks of what really goes down in the moment and how that pointed to a bigger administrative problem and unpreparedness problem and a psychological problem. Because all of us were saying, see, that's how it goes down. And see, and that's why they did this. And that's why. And so everything started in a good way, you could say, came to the surface. It was time for NBC to get into it and not be afraid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What types of projects are you looking for at this point in your career?
This is the kind of role that I would really enjoy developing. I have some other things in the works, but I would really love to go back to Broadway.
Ooh, really? What is it about the stage that you love?
It's almost like a musician or a rock star. You know, they love cutting the album in the studio, but there's nothing like going on tour.
Yeah.
You know, the immediacy of the audience, the energy, it just reminds me of why I wanted to be an actor in the first place. You know, you have all these people from all different walks of life, all ages, all colors, and they come into this dark place to believe something together. It's like this unifying moment.
I know. I can't wait for Broadway to get back. As I found myself telling a lot of people this time last year, I knew that what we all were experiencing was real when the NBA shut down and when Broadway, closed lights, because that's a community, obviously, that we really want to protect. But one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about missing Broadway and what you loved about Broadway and that you got to really maximize, who you are, is you're someone who has been a bit of a chameleon, I think, in this industry. Like, you very comfortably find yourself in different types of genres, TV, film. What do you attribute that to? Because I feel like that's challenging for an actor to.
That's such a great question. It is very easy to become a type and make a living that way.
Yes.
And I wish that I could be one thing, but I think that I just came out the box like wanting to do it all. I want to play characters from the past. I want to play cops and doctors and moms and all these things that tell great stories. And I'm just grateful that that's such a great observation, because I've been very happy with that part, that I haven't been pigeonholed. I do get a little bit of Terry Joseph though. Terry Joseph was hard to shake for a while.
Yeah.
Every now and then in the airport, somebody still calls me Terry.
No. But by and large.
Doing, Terry, how you and Boris doing?
Not so Boris gets to be Boris, but then you're still Terry.
I'm Terry, for sure. I wanted to go back real quick because you were talking about being in school, and I have a 9th grader and a 10th grader now.
Yeah.
So my daughter had an incident recently, and she called me and he said, "Mommy, the teacher said something that really hurt me." And that's what you forget, that there's a moment as Black students where it's a little bit of trauma, that you now have to be an advocate for yourself. So she really was able to vocalize. And I said, absolutely, you write the email. And the teacher engaged her and they're having a full conversation back and forth that's really powerful between a grown teacher and a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
So there is a way, just like, to bring it back to Chicago PD, how to tackle a real issue as humans and not dismantle the entire system of education because this teacher came out of his face. But let's respectfully hold up a mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really proud of her. And I was proud of him too.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Nicole Ari Parker, you are amazing.
You
Thank you
are
so
amazing.
much. Thank you so much for doing this. I will never call you Terry.
I hope we do it again.
Please, let's stay safe and
Yes.
continued success.